the pros and cons of purchasing a duplex. Now, duplexes were a great asset to purchase at the very beginning of when we started Fresh Start Advisory, and even previous before. The reason why is because you could get them at a very affordable price for good quality rental yield, okay? Anywhere from 7%, 8, 9, even up to 10%, and sometimes even higher. And so now, as time has gone on, there have been, the lights been revealed that, this is what you can purchase with a higher rental return, and of course, you still got that capital growth component to it. Now, what's happened is, of course, they've inflated a lot now, and then, of course, the cost of owning one is probably going to be more negative geared nearly compared to sometimes a freestanding house, depending on the rental yield. And where I come to conclusion with this is, let's say you buy a duplex and the duplex is yielding 7%, and you could buy a house. You got a duplex yielding 7%. You got a house yielding 6%. The thing with the duplex is 9 times out of 10 your rates are probably going to be double to what the house is. Okay, depending on where you're buying. And then as well, the insurance can be a lot more expensive as well compared to the house sometimes as well. Not always. Sometimes it can be cheaper than the house, to be quite honest, but there is times it's more expensive than the house insurance. Okay. And then, of course, you got double problems. You got 2 problems. You got 2 people or two sets of people living in a single duplex each. Okay, and if you got a triplex or a block of units, of course, there's more tenants, and sometimes they may have spouse or kids or whatever it may be. So there's always double problems that will occur as well. Okay, you got 2 hot water services, you got multiple air conditioners, you got multiple fans, you got 2 range hoods, you got 2 bathrooms, you got sometimes more than 2 bathrooms depending on if it's if they got 2 bathrooms in each duplex. So there's more problems to occur as well. Sometimes the lawns and stuff like that, because there's 2 tenants in there, that you have to pay for the lawns as well. So there's all these other things that come into play. And so when we find duplexes and they're yielding 7% or below, it's really, when you really stack it up, sometimes it's not really favorable compared to buying a freestanding house at 6%. The 6% property, a freestanding house is probably going to have, less expenses compared to what the duplex will have. Okay, so, and because the rates are cheaper and sometimes the insurance is cheaper, of course. So these are things to take into consideration. Now, what I will say, some of the cons with a duplex, okay, is yes, you have the capital growth component, but it's not as strong as what a freestanding house will be. Okay, you buy a beautiful duplex in a really good area, yeah, it's going to get capital growth, guaranteed. It's going to grow fast. It's going to grow, and if you buy correctly, it'll grow fast. But it's not going to have that component like the freestanding house, because you are targeting an investor, especially if you buy a duplex combined on the same title. If you buy a block of units on the one title, they're not strated, so you can't sell them separately. So what happens is, when you go to sell it, you're only attracting one person, an investor. Investors invest on numbers. We don't get emotionally attached to the property, so we don't push up prices. Owner-occupiers, on the other hand, they push up prices. So the capital growth component will start to be a bit faded out, during its growth phase as well. So that is something to take into consideration. Not just that, when you order valuations, okay, with a bank, you can go to, let's say you're with Macquarie Bank or you're with Combank or, Westpac, whoever it may be, you want a valuation on your house. You can order it for free through your bank. You want a valuation for your duplex, 9 times out of 10 you have to pay for it, okay? So that's a bit of a bad con, I would say, because especially if you're trying to take out equity, you always got to pay for the val, and sometimes those vals aren't that healthy as well. So when it comes to refinancing and trying to take some equity out, it can stun your growth as well, and that's something to take in consideration. Okay, now the pros are, of course, you've got a high yielding property, okay, and that's a great thing, and you do have that asset, that component of capital growth, where it's not like not going to grow at all, it's going to grow. But there is always, 2 sides of everything, and so you really, really need to be diligent with this. Now, you see some of these people out there selling, duplexes brand new and building them off, and they're great. You got to understand the side of things when it comes to if you can strata these things, and if you can strata them, can you do it right away? Because strataing can cost. So that is something that's a con as well. Like, if let's say you buy a duplex, I'd say that's a pro. You can buy a duplex on the one title and you can strata it. Now, the strataing is great because once you strata it, you're going to have 2 separate meters, water meters, okay? So you can charge out individual water, okay? Then you can sell the individual dwellings when you feel like it. So you might say, hey, I'm going to sell off unit 1 and keep the unit 2. Okay, and not only that, your equity position will increase as well, because then you're starting to target, owner occupiers. Okay, once you do that, they do become very, very attractive. The reason why, they don't have body corp sometimes, okay, which is awesome, okay, depending on how it's been built. If there is a firewall down the middle and you don't have to do, you know, and it's separate, and they're basically separate, there is no body corp, so they become very favorable then, okay, and so they become very attractive, and they can have a bit more growth component to it now because you do have that land size. So for instance, I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm trying to give as much value as possible and clarity. For instance, I bought one for my mum. It's 900 and something square meters. It's a duplex. Okay, if she wanted to strata it, of course, you just halve it down the middle. They've both got the individual, you know, sides. Beautiful backyard, and it's got that component to it where it's got a lot of land. Okay, so just shy of, you know, 500 square meters each of land. Beautiful, and it's got a big front yard and a decent sized backyard, very big backyard. So for the size of the house. So these are great things. Now, the con of that, when you do come to strataing, is there are some expenses involved, okay? You have to get, you know, a few people involved to get this done. You have to speak to a strata company. You have to get an engineer out there. They have to tell you what's wrong with the property that you need to fix up. And then there might be some things you need to put in. Water meters can be quite expensive. You might have to do something with the firewall if it hasn't got a protected firewall, or you have to improve it. Then that there costs a bit of money. Or you might have to do some other things if you have to make it strata approved, okay? Now, they're the pros and cons, but I guess the way up, if it does cost you 10, 20 grand to get it strata, but then of course the equity gain is much more significant, and how you work that out is understanding, okay, in this area, what are the other, you know, semi-duplexes going for, and having an understanding, especially if yours is quite unique and you've got a decent sized block. Individually, okay, you can make it really, really nice, especially if you've got a big backyard. You can put a nice patio and decking at the back. That is very unique for some of these type of properties as well, and you can add a lot of value. Some of them you can enclose, they might have a garage, okay, enclosed garage. Some of them might be open with no roller door. You can put a roller door and make it a enclosed garage. You know, you can do some pretty crafty things. You can even put an extended, you know, carport at the front. These things will add a lot of value to these type of duplexes and semi-duplexes, and they're very attractable because there is no body corp, and they're affordable as well for, you know, the people that are looking for their first home as well. So you start to target the first home buyers when you do something like this. So there is a lot of pros with these type of duplexes. The cons are, if you're not going to strata them and stuff like that, and you buy with a small rental yield, it's not going to be very, very favorable for you from a I guess a cash flow position, because it's really going to get stunted by, you know, by all the other expenses that are involved. Okay, because sometimes they can be, you know, 7 grand for, you know, in rates, and you're like, Jesus Christ, 7 grand for a duplex in rates. Sometimes it can be 6 grand, it can be 5 grand, depending on where you are. I will say, the more rural you go, or maybe sometimes if you go more North Queensland, of course, because they're very popular there, the higher you go in North Queensland, sometimes they become a bit more expensive with the rates because of natural disasters. Okay, doesn't mean it's a bad area to invest, but you always hear the doom and gloom when it comes to flooding or cyclones in Townsville and stuff like that. Doesn't mean the whole area is bad. It just means the rates will be a little bit more expensive, and then of course the insurance premiums will be a little bit more expensive as well. But you shop around and you can get pretty good premiums with your insurances as well. So hopefully that gives you clarity. There's a lot to take in there. Watch this video again, okay? They're great assets. If you get a great rental return, awesome. If you get something, I believe if it's 7% or low, it's really, when you really factor in, you're really not doing yourself any justice with, you know, it's going to it's got a higher rental yield than a house, and it's going to perform. So if you get a house at 6%, it's probably going to be the same as, you know, a duplex at 7%, depending on its expenses. Okay, so I'll leave that with you, and hopefully you got value from this. Like I said, go back and listen to this, take some notes. Okay, there's a lot there. I've just explained. Okay, there are some positive things with duplexes, and we do like them. We have purchased one not long ago as well, but they are becoming a diamond in the rough. Okay, that's what I will say. So thank you again. We'll see you at next week's poll, and if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to be reaching out, and we'll get back to you right away.